What's up, Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Welcome to the IMDb show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I just go by Mary.
Miss Winstead?
Yeah, Miss Winstead.
Yeah, we'll go for that. It sounds
nice.
good.
Yeah.
Congrats. Listen, we're here to talk about Gemini Man.
Yes.
So here's what I get from the trailer, right? You've got Will Smith playing Henry Brogan, and he gets to meet a clone of himself, a younger version of himself, and then you're there. Danny.
That's right.
Whose last name I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
We don't have to worry about that right now.
Say it for me.
I don't remember how to say it. I never say it in the movie, so I've never.
It's your character. My next question is going to be
Zacharewski?
I mean, you're saying it to me like I am, like I'm the one that knows the character. Yeah, Zacharewski is the way I see it spelled.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's how you say it. Yeah.
Sure, buddy. Sure. Where does Danny fit in?
So Danny comes into Henry's life. Henry is Will Smith's character because she is tasked with the job of keeping an eye on him after he retires. He's this elite assassin who starts having this sort of crisis of conscience, and he decides it's time to retire. And I work for the DIA, and I've been
Sorry,
told,
you said like it's a real thing. The DIA?
the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Got it. Okay.
And so I've been given the job of like keep an eye on this guy who's retiring. I don't really know why. I know who he is. I've respected him my entire career. And he sort of catches on to me. I'm like, the jig is up. And we realize that somebody's hunting him down. We don't know who, we don't know why. And it turns out it's somebody from our own government. And as time goes on, we realize this person looks exactly like a younger version of Will Smith. And we together kind of ally to try and figure out who the hell this person is and what's going on. So
what I've got so far from the trailer is, I see glimpses of you in full-blown action scenes. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. What sort of training did Angley, the director, and the stunt team put you and Will through to get ready for this movie?
Well, I had to do a lot of training with this 8711 stunt team who, they do all the John Wick movies. They've sort of become like the go-to stunt guys.
That's the thing, when you say John Wick, if you're like passing a resume to be a stunt coordinator, and you just put John Wick on the map.
Oh, completely.
Your job is done. Yeah.
Yes, and so this was my first time working with those guys, and then I'm now on my third film with them, training with them. So it's amazing. I've totally fallen in love with
Are you a registered lethal weapon?
Sorry?
Are you a registered lethal weapon at this point?
Am I the lethal? Oh, yes.
How good are you now? If you look back to your first kind of experience working with them to now, what sort of progress have you seen?
A lot, I think. For this most recent movie, we haven't really had to do that much training because I've been sort of training with them off and on now for a year and a half. So it's really kind of cool to just step in and they're like, oh, okay, you remember everything. Great. We've got a couple weeks. Let's just get into this.
Physically, what was the hardest thing for you to pull off? Because I've asked this question before, and they've been like a double black flip with a roundhouse kick.
Right.
Was there one thing that you really worked on that you're really proud to say, I can do this now?
We had this big, long oneer. I did a lot of training with them, jiu-jitsu training and all that stuff, but all that stuff was really fun for me. The weapon stuff was a bit harder because it's just not a natural thing for me to do. So we had this big, long oneer where Will and I are taking out all these guys who are jumping down from rooftops. It went on and on and on. We're going around buildings, we're ducking behind cars, we're shooting, and everything had to be choreographed and memorized. You shoot this guy, he falls down, you reload, you shoot this other guy. So that was extremely terrifying and stressful, but also really rewarding for me to be like, oh my God, I'm standing next to Will Smith and we're in a firefight and we're taking people out and I'm reloading. It was so cool.
It must be even better when you watch it back.
Yes.
Right? To see yourself
really cool.
doing that. What's that feeling like when you see, do you recognize the person or is that just are you sold in the act as well?
I'm still a little bit self-critical. I try to just trust the stunt team when they say that, you look great and it looks right, because I'm still oh, I look like me in a firefight. I still just see me and they're going, oh my God. So I just trust them that it looks okay.
Talk to me about, I'm always curious, right? Do actors look forward to the action scenes when it's on the call sheet and you're like, today we're shooting that scene where guys are jumping down and you're shooting them? Or is it a thing of by the 10th take, you're like, oh my God, call it my stunt double?
Yeah, I guess I might be different for everybody, but for me, I love the training.
Yeah.
I love the training. I love working with the stunt team. I love getting to know everybody, learning all of it. But the idea of shooting it is super stressful to me. So I always I have it highlighted on the schedule, and I'm like, let's just get past that day.
Get that out the way and keep it going. An action movie is probably not what you should sign up for then.
Yeah, then it's every day. It's let's just get past that day.
What's more draining, doing those physical action scenes on a 10th take or an emotional scene on a 10th take?
They're both incredibly exhausting. I mean, for me, I guess I know the emotional stuff, like how to get there, and I know I've been doing it long enough that I kind of know what that's going to be like, and I enjoy kind of just giving myself over to that, so I don't really worry about it so much. I think the stress involved, that I'm still new enough to the stunt stuff that I'm stressed out about it, makes it that much more exhausting.
Very cool. So look, in addition to the storyline, there's been a lot of talk about in addition to the storyline, a lot of talk about the technology being used in this movie, right? So I read that it was Jerry Bruckheimer's longest gestating movie of all time, meaning that he was waiting for the technology to catch up to the concept.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this. What are we seeing? What did you see? I want the real, technical terms here. No, or just give me a brief general rundown.
It's so hard to talk.
What are they doing in this?
It's hard to talk about because it's beyond what I can really fully understand. Like, I've heard so much about the technology over the last year and a half, on set and off set, and it all just kind of like goes in one ear and out the other.
So what is it?
So it's like 4K, 3.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying. It's a 4K 3 dot. Yeah, the 4K 3 dot is
it's
crazy.
Like whatever it is.
I have one of those at home.
I know, right? It's amazing. But whatever it is, it's like beyond 3D. It's like you're fully immersed in the world. When you watch it the way that it's meant to be watched, and not every theater has the capacity to play it in the way that it's really meant to be seen. So a lot of them do. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to see it at one of those theaters. But it feels like somewhere between 3D and like virtual reality, like you're really there. And also beyond that, what really struck me about it is that it's also really beautiful. Like a lot of 3D films that I've seen in the past, it's like impressive, but something in the quality of the cinema is slightly lost.
It's a bit distracting sometimes.
Yeah. And
sometimes it works, and when it works, it's great.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner. Did you ever see when that was in 3D? I saw it both ways.
Right.
In 3D, it's a better movie.
Yeah, some movies are meant to be seen in 3D, and this is like, not only is it like, you feel like you're in the action, but you also feel like you could like reach out and touch a blade of grass, and it's beautiful, and the sky is beautiful, and the ocean is beautiful. So there's like that's also the Angley effect. It's like it's not just a crazy action movie where you feel like you're really in it in the fight. You're also looking at beautiful cinema, which to me is what I really love about it and what's exciting about it to me.
What's he like, Angley?
He's amazing.
Really?
He's so lovely. I just love him. He's just so passionate. He's like intense but quiet, sort of quietly intense and lovely and sweet, and loves actors, and he's so. That's what he's really about at the end of the day. There's all this technology and all this, craziness, but he really just wants to get at the truth of the story, and that he feels like is through the soul of the actors, and that's really lovely.
So talk to me about his directing style, right? Because we've seen him do remarkable work with so many actors. I mean, it is the Academy Award-winning Ang Lee, for good reason. How, as a director, what's his special skill, and how does he do that? No, let me ask you this: what's the special quality about Ang Lee that brings out the best from an actor?
Well, he's incredibly exacting. I mean, he's demanding in a very sweet way, in a very lovely Ang Lee kind of way, but he does not accept anything that's not completely and utterly truthful. I mean, his authenticity radar is incredibly sensitive. And if there's even just like a flick of the eye that is like a self-conscious thing that's not true to the character, he's like, no, do it again. You just flicked your eye, and I could tell that was you and not Danny. Like he knows, and you know that he's right. Like, oh God, how did he see that? So you'll just do it again and again until everything is stripped away and you're just totally real.
What is your favorite memory working with Ang Lee when you move on through this movie into years to come? What's your favorite memory when you think back?
I think I think we really kind of understood each other in a way, and also sort of pushed each other in a way sometimes. Like he would get stressed out at me sometimes, and I'd be like, Ang, it's fine, calm down, it's gonna be okay. And then he'd be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get stressed out, and I'd be like, it's okay. So I loved like feeling like I felt close enough to him to be able to have those kinds of conversations, at the end of the day. And I felt like so rewarded to kind of go through the struggle of trying to get something right with him, because it was so important to him that we do this movie justice, and that we do this technology justice, and that we really make something great. And we were all in that together, and I just loved getting to be part of that experience with him.
So Ang Lee at the helm, your co-star is Will Smith. And Will's doing something kind of special here, right? He's giving two distinctly different character performances. And a lot of the time, especially what I see in the trailer, you're in the middle of what's going on. So what's that like from you, from your perspective? What are you seeing when you're on set and you're in Danny's character and you've got Henry on one side and you've got Junior on the other?
Yeah.
What are you watching? What are you seeing? And what was new for you?
Well, we had to do each scene that involved both of them like lots and lots of different ways. So we would do, every time there was always a double. His name was Victor Hugo, who's this young actor who was kind of standing in for the young Will Smith. And so I think a lot of the film is sort of like his body, and, you know, like occasionally watching the film, I'd be like, oh, those are Victor's hands, or, you know, you could sort of see Victor in there because we always did every scene with Victor first.
Okay.
And then Victor would leave.
Always with Victor first.
We'd always do it with Victor
Okay.
first. So it was sort of like the scene felt like a real scene because we
Got
got
it.
two different actors to play off of. So it's like the people are really there. And then Victor would leave, and we'd usually do the scene with nothing there. So it was like the ghost of young Will Smith. I
Yeah.
mean, not even a golf ball, just nothing.
Just air.
Which
Yeah.
I almost would prefer a golf ball because at least you have something to
look at.
Like, you're just sort of like, so that's a little awkward and surreal. And then we'd usually do it, you know, that way, kind of back and forth, and all different sort of, sometimes we do it in a version that I wouldn't even understand. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm looking over here, but sure.
And your role is really just to trust
Yes,
and
yeah.
trust Will and just do what they say,
Trust
right?
that this is just what's required for the technology, and they're going to figure it out later. And then at the end of the shoot, we all went back into the motion capture studio, and we did all those scenes over again in motion capture. So it was all these different versions of the scene that had to be accomplished.
So what was an added level of pressure as a performer on this movie that you haven't experienced before? Something they don't teach you in acting school.
I mean, the motion capture stuff was insane. I mean, it wasn't so much pressure for me because I wasn't even on camera for it, but just in terms of, I had no idea what really went into that for the actor who's on camera or for the actors who are off. Like, I could show up in my pajamas and that was great, but then I had to act along with myself on a video screen. I had to match my own movements and my own voice exactly, and then the sound would cut out to allow for Will to say his lines, and then it would pick back up again for my lines, and I would just be I'd be acting with him, but mouthing along to myself on a TV screen. It was the most surreal, strange, like odd, like whoever thought this would be my job? Like literally, I was literally like walking next to Will Smith going, like, I mean, it was just like, this is so
crazy.
odd. And poor Will, who's like got all these like baubles all over him and dots all over his face and this gray like unitard suit.
Which must be a sight, by the way.
Oh, it's a real sight. You know, he's this tall, like, you know.
Will Smith.
It's Will
Yeah.
Smith. And then he's got to be like emoting, like he's got to be crying and like being in this real scene. It just seemed so hard. That just seemed so challenging.
So I don't know anyone that isn't a fan of Will Smith.
Yeah.
I just happen to be a massive fan of Will Smith. I know you are as well.
Yeah.
You got a really amazing opportunity to sit front row at
Yeah.
the Will Smith performance, especially when he's giving two really different performances because they look the same but very different characters,
Very
right?
different characters, yeah.
And so what are you seeing that furthers my belief that he's one of the greats?
God, everything. I mean, it's kind of cliche at this point. You were saying
You're
everybody.
not allowed to say, he's a
Everybody
nice
says
guy,
he's
he's
the
great to everyone. I
nicest
can't hear it
guy.
again.
He's so positive, but it's true.
But they all say that. They go,
Yes,
he's the nicest guy. He's
the
nice
nicest guy.
to everyone around
Nice to
him.
everybody, and you can tell these are things that he's really worked on to be like, this is his this is the way he views life. Like, it's not just like by accident that he's nice to everybody. Like, this is his point of view on the world. Like,
Yeah,
you
he
should
lives
be.
it. Right.
He lives it. You need to be grateful for everything that you have, and so every day he showed up like, I'm grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be a part of this, and it just makes such a difference. It just does, like, to everybody around. You're just like, oh yeah, we should all be grateful to be here. Like, this is amazing that we're here making a movie, and it just affects every single person.
Then, as an actor, as a performer yourself, what are you watching? Because that's a masterclass right there. What
was
are
a
you
total
seeing
masterclass.
that you were impressed by where you're like, yes, he is that good?
I think his calm under pressure. I mean, Aang was like no different with Will than he was with me. I mean, I was like, wow, Aang's really direct, you know what I mean? Like, other directors would be like, oh, he's Will Smith, just let him do whatever he wants to do. But Aang wasn't like that. Like, he pushed him, you know, he would get different things out of him. And never once did Will go, oh, I don't, nah. He would just be like, yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that too. Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, there was not a single time when he got defensive or when he got his ego in the way. He just was there to be like, I want to make the movie that you want to make.
Right.
And not many people at his level are really like that. They sort of they want to make the movie they want to make.
Right.
So it was just amazing to see him be that way.
That's really cool and really insightful, and we get it. He's a nice guy. Stoner talk, would you ever let someone clone you?
Oh, God. I don't
think about it. Don't just say
so.
no. Would you? You get a younger version of yourself. You don't have to be at war with them. They're not trying to kill you all the time.
Right. Well, I don't really understand why you would want to clone yourself.
Two of you.
Isn't that why people have kids? I don't know.
Just to clone themselves. That's one way of looking at it. All right. Let's talk about a hugely popular show with the IMDb audience, Fargo.
Ah, yes.
Yes, you were in it. Yes, you were in it. One of the best shows in TV. Everyone loves it for the surprises, right? It's always keeping people guessing, always surprising people. Thinking back, what is something you really hold dear to you, a personal memory from Fargo?
God, there's so many. I mean, first of all, just getting to say those words, they're like the best words and the best accents to get to say them in. Like the most fun words to say, I think, that I've ever been able to say in my career.
Can you switch back to the voice?
Every now and then I try to, and just recently I tried to, and I was like, it's gone. Oh,
you
God.
Can't do it?
I mean, it's not just the accent, it was just like the whole character, I feel like she's sort of gone.
Yeah.
But,
you dress differently.
I dress different. It's just like, but usually it lingers for a little while afterwards, I could probably still, the character I played in Fargo wasn't actually from Fargo. She was from Chicago, so I had a bit of a different thing, but she was just the most fun.
What's that one memory that you always hold dear? And then I'm going to ask you, what do you not miss about it?
Right. Probably they're kind of one and the same. Like I had maybe the most challenging stuff I did on that show was towards the end of the season where I'm stuck out in the snow, in the woods, in the wilderness, handcuffed to Russell, who was my co-star.
For ages, by the way.
For ages. We were handcuffed to each other. And he's the loveliest actor. He's deaf and he's an incredible performer. And it was he wasn't really able to wear his hearing aid and stuff, and we were just out in the middle of nowhere, and so we had to really learn how to communicate with each other, and I knew almost no sign language. So it was such an incredible challenge, sort of being thrown out there with one another, with nobody else. We were having one person with a walkie-talkie giving us directions on what to do, and we had stunts to do together. We had all this crazy stuff, and we really bonded. So it was the most challenging part of the show, but also the most rewarding. I loved him so much.
The amount of time you guys spent handcuffed.
Yeah.
So they literally just put regular handcuffs on you?
Yeah, we were totally handcuffed. And so sometimes, if one of us was confused about what was going on in the scene, he would be dragging me along, and I'd be like, no, this isn't right. I mean, it was quite insane.
You've done far too many horror films to be someone that doesn't dig horror.
I do love horror.
You've got to be a fan, right?
Yes.
For sure, because I go down your IMDb page, it's horror movie after
love
horror movie.
Movies, yeah.
You deep in the horror genre?
Pretty deep, yeah. I mean, I have my certain types of horror films that I like more than others. I'm more of a psychological horror film than a slasher film buff.
Okay.
But I do love.
Top 5?
The Shining, Rosemary's Baby, Alien. What else would be in there? Maybe Repulsion. What's one other one? I want to say Apocalypse Now, even though that's not really a horror film, but that's sort of the psychological horror of it is what sort of stands out to me. Yeah.
So you put Alien in there. Seeing Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, inspiration to
definitely
do this biz?
Definitely. Inspiration. I don't really remember having a specific moment of I want to be an actress because I watched her, because honestly I wanted to be an actress since before I could remember wanting, so I just think she's just part of the lexicon of who I am,
That was my first female action star lead I think I ever saw.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she's incredibly influential for all of us, just because that was just a movie that just had such an impact.
Something you have, good top 5 by the way. You missed out a couple of bangers, but good top 5. I know you loved Hereditary.
Yes, I did love Hereditary. I was just saying I can't wait to see it.
You haven't seen Midsommar yet.
Midsommar, yes.
But you're going to. All right, upcoming, something you got down the road. I have to refer to the cast, it's a long name. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yes.
You're in it.
I'm in that.
Who do you play?
I play Huntress.
Okay.
Also known as Helena Bertinelli.
Are you done with this movie?
I'm done with this
All
movie.
right, tell me, what's happening? Where are we? So this is when the Joker and her have had a falling out.
They've had a falling out. It's sort of like in a crazy sort of action R-rated way. It's like a girl's sort of breakup movie, you know, like she breaks up with the Joker.
Is that what this is?
And then she's just like finding herself, you know, in her twisted Harley Quinn sadistic kind of way.
She has a good argument. He's a dick.
He's a terrible human, or whatever he is.
Yeah.
So she just kind of, she ends up kind of going after this kid, Cassandra Cain, because she's got this diamond that this, you know, Gotham City bad guy is looking for. So basically everybody in Gotham is looking for this kid, including Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And that means Huntress is also looking for them, and Black Canary, you know, everybody sort of in one way or another ends up trying, either being like coming into
We're using that. Go ahead.
So
is that what you do to Angley every time? Is that literally?
That's the thing where he was like, I didn't like that so much.
Yeah. Your eye flicked and you did it.
Yeah, you did some weird thing with your mouth. So everyone in Gotham is sort of going after this kid for one reason or another, or they come into contact with her for one reason or another. So we all end up sort of coming to blows because of this kid, Cassandra Cain.
Oh, so everyone's after one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but then ultimately we know that they kind of join forces.
Well, that's the part that's, you know, we don't really know, you know, that's a sort of spoiler in terms of where things go, but yes, they're all kind of going after the same thing.
What's different about doing a DC movie? When you play the Huntress, first of all, you get a cool name that you can pronounce and that you know.
That I know.
And then what comes with it?
You know, I think so far the only thing that's really different, other than the fact that it was like an incredibly cool character to play, I mean, and just to step into this really unique world.
What makes it cool?
I've never played anything. I've done action movies, but I've never done an action movie that takes place in this very specific, stylized world, you know? I mean, I guess Scott Pilgrim is sort of counts for that. But this is its own thing, like its own universe. And so to get to play a character who sort of doesn't really exist in the real world, but still kind of grounded in reality, was just a nice, cool thing to step into.
Does it change your performance? Because of that parameter being different, you don't have to ground it.
Yeah, and the movie's funny too. Like it's dark and weird and raunchy and funny. So we got to be a little bit like unhinged. Like we're all a little unhinged, which I've never really gotten to do before.
You and Margot Robbie share movie experiences with Will Smith now.
Yes.
Suicide Squad and also Focus.
Yeah, that's right.
What's she like, by the way?
She's, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if she took a couple pointers from Will as well, because she has that same kind of vibe. Like she's really positive. She's there for everybody. You know, she's a producer on this film as well. Yeah. So she was really involved in every scene. Like she wasn't just like, oh, I'm here to play my character. She was like, I'm here to make sure the whole story is being served in a way that wasn't like overbearing.
Got
like,
it.
She was just there to be like, oh, are we all on the same page? In the really like great kind of unifying way. So she's fantastic.
That's his thing. Number one on call sheet sets the tone.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
are you ready for the Huntress action figures?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Right?
I can't
Your
wait
entire
to see
life.
That.
This is a very special moment.
It's a special moment.
The fact that
It'd be
people
great.
will be buying now Huntress action figures as their toys.
I know. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Does it dawn on you?
You know, I was doing something recently where I was like, I had to be signing autographs, and people were starting to bring me all these Birds of Prey comics and stuff to sign, and that was the first time it dawned on me, like, oh, that's going to become a thing. Like, it's not just, oh, I went and did this movie. Like, now this is going to follow you. So I don't really know what that's going to mean, but I'm curious to see what happens.
I think it's awesome. All right, at ease, soldier. What are you watching at home?
So, well, you were saying everybody says Fleabag, so that's a little bit boring. But
our conversations before this don't make it into the live show. They don't. But yes, I say everyone says Fleabag.
Yes.
Listen, that was not me telling you what to say.
I know, but
you can join it if you want. It's Emmy nominated.
It's so good.
I just got through the second season.
Second season of Fleabag is amazing.
Americans seem to love Fleabag.
I guess it is. Maybe there's something, the British humor, that is like, because it's different from our own, that there's something extra sort of enticing about
Is that
it.
the first thing Americans go, Fleabag?
Fleabag is so good. But another one that I watched that I loved that you might hear about a lot too is Pen 15.
Yeah, of course.
That I thought was so funny. I watch a lot of comedy because usually when I'm like doing these action movies and I'm exhausted at the end of the day, I just want to turn on like a 30-minute comedy.
Is that what you do? Back to the hotel room before you sleep, just go through something easy.
Yeah. I watched all of the other two, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
The show Dead to Me, which isn't really comedy, but it's light and fun.
Dead to me is a weird one because it's not that light. and funny, right? It's kind of
Well,
dark and
yeah,
sinister.
it's kind of dark and sinister, but it's fun, but it's like sort of guilty pleasure fun.
Watching their performances is quite fun. Watching them both
They're
together.
Fun. They're fantastic.
Let's go back to Penn real quick.
Yeah.
Role envy. Like, do you get role envy there? Because what's more fun than that?
That would be so much fun. And it was just so perfect because I think they're the same age as me. So the year that they're playing 13 in was like the year that I was 13. So every moment is like, oh my God, that was exactly what it was like to be 13 in 1998.
When you watch that, what's the magic there? Because I don't think that's an easy pitch.
Oh God, I can't imagine.
Like to a studio head, right? You can't. It's like, hey, by the way, I want to create the show with a bunch of classmates, and we're the only two adults. Like, what are you seeing there from your perspective that makes it special?
You know, I think they're just so funny and they're so true. Like, they're telling the true story of what it was like to be that age. They're not making fun of it. They're totally stepping back into what it was like for them, and you can feel that. Like, by the end of the season, you're like crying with them, like, oh my God, these poor girls. So it just feels really true and heartfelt, and that's what makes it funny.
All right, give me two more.
Two more.
Let's go obscure.
Well, I've been watching a lot of, like I was saying, I've been kind of living under a rock, so I haven't been out to see very many movies, unfortunately, but I've been watching a lot of Bob Dylan documentaries.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I saw on Netflix there was the most recent one.
You went into the wormhole. What opened
I went into
it?
the wormhole, the Rolling Thunder, which was out pretty recently, Martin Scorsese documentary. And then I went back and watched all of the Pennebaker documentaries, sort of No Direction Home, Don't Look Back, I think it's called, and there's one other one, I'm blanking on the title. But they're all fascinating. Like, and now I'm listening to all his music. Like, I've just gone down a real
What's
Bob
fascinating about Bob Dylan?
He's like a truly one-of-a-kind person. Like, he never really followed anyone else's. I mean, well, in the beginning he had inspirations and stuff, but in terms of who he is and what he wants to do, and all these documentaries, I had no idea. There was all these times when he was like, people hated him. Like, they'd go to his shows and like throw cans at him because he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. And I just find that really interesting and kind of inspirational.
The story, have they made a movie about him? I'm sure they have, but nothing
No,
that
other
we've
than like
seen
that
yet
movie, you know, Kate Blanchett and everybody played him, all the different, I don't think anybody's
I remember
done
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
All the different versions of Bob Dylan. All right, give me.
The Other Two is a show. I love that show. If you want to talk about
Oh
that
yeah, it's such a funny show. The Other Two. I mean, I hadn't really heard much about it. I just sort of put it on as I wanted to find something funny.
So what is it?
So it's about this family, and the youngest of the three kids becomes like the next Justin Bieber all of a sudden, and the two older siblings are also both trying to be in the entertainment industry. And they're like waiters and waitresses, like they're just like, their lives are not going in that direction. So it's sort of like their lives juxtaposed with his life and how different it is and how that makes them feel, and sort of the pressure they feel to sort of, you know, basically like just make their lives revolve around him, you know, as opposed to going after what they want. It's a really, it's also.
So what is it? Comedy? Is it drama?
It's comedy.
Tragic?
It's definitely comedy, but it was similar to Pen 15, where by the end of the season, you really feel for them as a family and what they're going through. So it's definitely comedy, but it has some deeper truths to it.
Okay, my fellow horror buff, what horror movie's coming out that you can't wait to see?
I was saying, I know it's already out, but I really want to see Midsummer.
You gotta see it.
I really want to see it. Anytime somebody starts talking about a horror movie that made them like hold their breath, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm missing this. So I have to see that. Is it still in theaters? Do you know? Of course. Okay, so I need to try and see it while it's still in theaters.
You're in Gemini, man. You can tell them what to put in theaters now. The game has changed. Mary, thank you so much for being here on the show. It's such a pleasure. Can't wait to see Gemini Man as well. It's really nice to meet you.